Welcome to our 5 on 5. Please be joined in studio by U.S. Senator Ron Wyden. Senator, thank you so much for taking the time while you're here in the Rogue Valley.
Thank you.
So I know you met with fire victims and toured a FEMA direct housing site in White City today. We're recording this Saturday. What do you think of the site and FEMA's job in the Rogue Valley so far?
Obviously, the flames have been extinguished, but there is an awful lot to do for recovery. Now, certainly there's concern about the FEMA denial rate. I'm investigating this along with Senator Merkley. And look, we have two objectives here. We've got to make sure that every legitimate claim gets addressed, and at the same time, we've got to prevent fraud. The two of them are not mutually exclusive. We've got to do both.
Yeah, FEMA's rejected 69% of Oregonians' requests for aid after the last fall's fires. That's not a Rogue Valley specific number, that's statewide. There's of course a variety of reasons for that, but without delving into those details, what do you think of that number?
The pattern of denials really concerns me, and I think my bottom line is the Biden administration has got to do better than their predecessor.
All right, now I'm curious, you've held several town halls, one just in Jackson County today, as well as several throughout the state this week. Has anything stood out to you from what you've heard from constituents?
What I'm really struck by is a sense that, and it's painful, that there are two Oregons. There's one group of people who, whether it's a power outage or trying to deal with the fire, they're in a position to see light at the end of the tunnel. Then there's another group of Oregonians who are just really hurting. They're trying to afford shelter. They're trying to put food on the table, take care of medical needs. That's the group I saw today, and it's my job as the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee to support policies that give both groups and every Oregonian the chance to get ahead.
President Biden said no to the Schumer-Warren proposal to cancel $50,000 of student loan debt per borrower. He's indicated his preference for around $10,000 instead. As the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, how much, if any, student debt should be wiped out?
Well, first of all, there's the question of what a president has the authority to do. And my view is that the president does have considerable leeway to get significant help to Oregonians. My sense is that this is also a big picture economic issue. I can't tell you how many seniors come up to me and say they are still faced with student loan debts. This is something that can cripple the economy if we don't deal with it, because people won't be able to buy homes. They won't be able to do those things that allow them to get ahead.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, Senator. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, we're here in studio with U.S. Senator Ron Wyden. Senator, we ended on finance. I want to stay there. Will Democrats push through a COVID economic relief bill with Republican support or go it alone? And what do you think that final number will be?
I certainly hope there'll be Republican support. The irony is when you take all the individual items in the Biden package, there's very substantial Republican support. Every poll shows it, the support for the $1,400 checks, the support for state and local governments, for firefighters, for example. It sometimes seems that the only place these issues are divisive is the Republican Senate caucus in Washington, D.C. So I think senators are going to be coming back, and I think they're going to be people who've heard from the grassroots that these items are important.
Democrats say they want to work with Republicans to reunite the country, but the GOP doesn't think your party's meeting them in the middle. What's your response to that?
My response is I will work with anybody who's going to help us tackle these big challenges. For example, I can tell you that Mike Crapo, Republican of Idaho, is going to be the senior Republican on the Finance Committee. He and I have worked together so often, particularly on major issues involving forestry and infrastructure. I continue to believe we can find common ground again.
So 7 Senate Republicans joined Democrats in the vote to impeach former President Trump just about a week ago. Now that you've had some time to think about everything that's happened there, what sticks out to you most about that process, or where the country goes from there?
What is especially striking, and I think what history is going to say, is 43 Republican senators put their loyalties to Donald Trump over the Constitution. And I don't think the history books are going to treat that favorably.
Want to get one final question in. We're doing record time here, by the way. You recently introduced legislation that would bolster wildfire prevention and preparedness to protect the health and safety of communities from wildfire season and the COVID-19 pandemic. What about this bill is different from the government's other efforts to clean up our forests?
Well, there are two approaches that I feel strongly about. First, of course, I have one bill, and we'll get, I think, strong bipartisan support for that, to have more prescribed burns, which means that in the colder months, you do carefully controlled burns so you prevent the bigger fires in the hot, dry months. And then I've introduced the 21st Century Civilian Conservation Corps, which can put thousands of people to work in the woods. We've got all that dead and dying material out there on the forest floor. We ought to thin it out. We can do it in an environmentally sustainable way, and it'll ensure that a lot of homeowners in Southern Oregon are safer in the days ahead.
Senator, I know you have a flight to catch back to D.C. Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.